Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with another monthly wrap up, this time just 1 month. I actually read quite a bit in March compared to some of those other months, especially February. So this video is going to be a wrap up of everything that I read in March, as well as my TBR, my to be read for April. So we'll start with the books that I read in March. I actually read 3 of the 6 that I had on my TBR. So as a reminder for both of us, let me pull up my list. So on my TBR for March, I had finishing The Rent Collector, reading Far World, the first book, Dune Messiah, I Hunt Killers, The Maidens, and finishing The Lord of the Rings. Started off strong by finishing Lord of the Rings. This one is the 3rd book in the trilogy, The Return of the King. I will go all in depth on my Lord of the Rings, reading Lord of the Rings for the first time video, which will be coming out soon. I haven't quite gotten around to editing it yet. I'm very behind on editing videos. So that one will be coming out soon, but I did like this one the best out of the 3 books. So I gave this one 4 stars. It's definitely the one that I like best out of the trilogy. Definitely still has some slow parts, like all Lord of the Rings books do, but this one was better than the rest. It has a lot more going on. I will just say that. So that one was a 4 stars. Then the next book that I read was The Red House Mystery by A.A. Milne. I'm not 100% positive that that's how you say the name. I actually picked this up while we were in London. There's also a vlog that will be coming up from that soon, hopefully. But I finished on the plane ride home. There were no movies really that I wanted to watch. I watched like 1 movie, but I finished this on the plane, and then I picked up this and read this whole entire thing on the plane too. It's super short. If you happen to recognize the name of the author, this is who wrote the Winnie the Pooh books. Before he got into like fully into Winnie the Pooh, and that he happened to write a mystery book. He, in the like intro forward, is that what they're called, like the introduction, he said that he has lots of really strong opinions on thrillers, and so he decided to write, or not thrillers, like mysteries, and he decided to write his own mystery that met all of his personal qualifications for a mystery. So this is very Agatha Christie vibes. I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. It is just such a quick, simple mystery read. Basically it's about this guy who, like this eccentric old man who owns a house that he invites people over to all the time, and someone ends up dead, and then a local guy, or like just some guy that happens to be staying around the neighborhood, ends up trying to solve the mystery. So it's a really good book. I don't know, I never know what to say about mystery books like this because I don't want to spoil stuff, and I feel like if you give too many of my thoughts, I would end up eventually spoiling something. But it's really good. It's got a fun twist in it. It's just like, it's probably maybe even in the category of cozy mysteries. It's not like silly or funny, like it's very Agatha Christie-esque. So that's what I'll say about this one. I thought the characters were really good. I liked the twist at the end. This was a great 5-star if you want a really quick, short mystery. Then, sticking to my TBR, the next thing that I read was The Maidens. This is by Alec I don't know how to say it. Michaelides? I don't know. Same author as The Silent Patient. I thought this was really good. I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's basically about this woman who is a therapist, and her niece is at, what college is it? Is at Cambridge. So her niece is at Cambridge. A girl ends up murdered that is about her same age. Her aunt goes to help her and is convinced that it is a professor at the university. And so she goes about trying to prove the professor's guilt. I will say it's a really good plot. You will not get the ending. The ending is quite the twist, and it earns the 4 stars for that. It is a little, it just kind of creeps you out. I think that's really what made it lose a star, is it's kind of creepy, and the main character is sometimes a little frustrating. She definitely has a lot of issues that she needs to sort through, that she's kind of in denial of, and it's like, she's a therapist, she is trying to help people, but she's in denial of her own issues, and that kind of bugged me a little bit. It was just kind of like, oh, like, sort some stuff out. But, and other than that, and the fact that this left me feeling a little bit creeped out, It was a really good book. The plot twist is worth it. Then again, sticking with my TBR, I next read I Hunt Killers. This one was probably my biggest disappointment of the month. I gave it 3 stars. I kind of had to force myself through this one, and I don't know if it's just that I wasn't in the mood. It has such a good premise. It did not live up to it. Basically, it's about the son of the world's most famous serial killer who is now trying to prove that he is not going to follow in his dad's footsteps, which is such a good premise, but they made it like a teenage boy. And I really was hoping it was like the grown-up adult person who had in his past had a dad that was a serial killer and is now like working with the police, but the police did not want the kid involved. He still has tons of issues. He goes about everything the wrong way, and he's just really annoying. Basically, and I just didn't like the main character in it. He just was so annoying, and it just had so much potential, but it just wasn't quite where I thought they were going with it. And I think if it had been like an adult who was like helping inform the police and the police were working with him and not being like, get out of our investigation, I think I would have liked it more. So it was a interesting story. It got to the point where you really wanted to know. I will say, for being considered a YA book, it gets pretty detailed and gruesome in explaining some of the murders. So just something to keep in mind. It does go in a lot more detail than you would expect from a YA book. Then this is where I started deviating from my TBR. I started reading some books for a video that I'm making that is all about rereading my favorite childhood favorites. The first one that I read for that is the first book in the Sisters Grimm. It's called Fairy Tale Detectives. This is basically about 2 girls who are the descendants of the Grimm brothers, and they are orphans. They go to live with their grandmother, who happens to live in a land full of all of these fairy tale characters. And she is a detective, and she goes about solving things, and so they go with her. And that's pretty much the premise of it. I don't want to say too much because, again, there will be a video coming out with all of my thoughts in depth on this one, but I did give it 4 stars. It is still a really fun book, even as an adult. Then, sticking with that one, I just barely finished this one today. It is The Alchemist, which is part of the Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel series. Also part of that video, so I'm not going to go too in depth. I still am a little conflicted on my rating on this one, but I think I'm going to go with 3.5 stars. It's on the higher end of that. I put it as 4 stars on Goodreads, but I think it's officially a 3.5. Basically, it's about these 2 twins who get caught up in this magical world because they meet Nicholas Flamel, and he thinks that they are part of a prophecy that is potentially going to be coming true, and so he takes them along. It's this whole crazy ride. I love the plot and the premise of this series in this book. I will say, reading it now as an adult, the characters are a little annoying, and that kind of brought it down a bit for me. It's a great setup, and I will potentially still read the rest of the series, but there are some characters that need some developing in this book, and that's about as much as I'll say. There will be a video coming out soon with all of my thoughts. So those are the 6 books that I ended up reading in March, 3 of which were from my TBR. So now let's talk about my updated TBR for April. I've picked a little bit of a bigger TBR. Last time I had 6, this time I have 7. So 1 more, but another one that I potentially will add. I just don't have the book. But let's go through. I will explain what my books are in April. I'm currently on a spring break, We're here in St. George with my family. But since I have spring break this month, and I am no longer taking the test to get licensed to be a teacher, I think I'll have a lot more time this month. And I also got a concussion in March, which made it so that I didn't read for like a week. So I think I'll have a lot more time going into April to read. So I'm hoping I can get through a little bit of a bigger chunk of books, because I have a lot of books on my overall TBR that I'm really wanting to get to. The first one, which is probably what I'm going to end up picking up today, is Theodosia and the Serpents of Chaos. This one is also for that video. I know I've mentioned those ones a lot, but this one's probably the next one that I'm going to read. It is about a girl who, her parents are museum curators in an Egyptian history museum, and they live kind of in the museum, and she starts to learn about all of these Egyptian magical things that are still happening and are real, and it's all about basically her experience with the Egyptian gods and stuff like that. So that's book number 1. Then after that, for that same video, I plan on picking up the name of this book is Secret by Pseudonymous Bosch. This is the first book in a series, like all of them have been. It's a lot of series. I read a lot of series when I was a kid, I'm learning. But this is also a mystery book. It's obviously a kid's mystery, but basically a magician goes missing and these kids go to try and figure it out. It's a really fun secret societies type of a book. So that's the name of this book is Secret, part of the Secret series. So I may go and read some of the rest of them this month. We'll see. It's not on my current plan, but possibility if I am into this one enough. The next one that I have is finishing the Rent Collector. I do need to finish this book. I know this is on my March TBR and I did not get to it. But again, I got really busy and I didn't read as many books as I was planning on in general. But I do plan on making myself finish this book because I just need to finish it. I've been working on it for so long. It needs to happen. The next book that I plan on reading for April is The Westing Game. This one is recommended to me by my husband. We found it at a thrift store. This plot sounds almost identical to the Inheritance games. So I'm really interested. It's nice and very tiny and short. So it'll be a good quick read potentially amongst all of the series that I'm about to get into. But basically it's a rich eccentric billionaire leaves his inheritance to a virtual stranger and everybody's trying to figure out why, and it's like one last game from this billionaire who likes to play games. So literally the Inheritance games. The only twist that I can see based off of the back of the book is that this person he leaves his inheritance to is potentially a murderer. So should be interesting. It'll be a nice quick read to add to the list. The last thing that or books that I plan on reading for April are actually all part of a series, again for my rereading my childhood favorites, and that is the Far World series. It starts with Waterkeep, so I'll be reading this one for the video, and then I'll most likely, just because I feel like I'm in the mood and I haven't actually read the rest of the series, I'll probably pick up the rest of the series after this. So this one will be for the video. This is Waterkeep. It's basically about, you have Earth and you have like a parallel world called Far World that has magic, and it's these two kids who come together to try and like save both of the worlds. So this one's Waterkeep. I have read this one. This will be a reread for me. And then I think I'll probably get into the next books. The next one is Landkeep. This one I have not read, but this cover is super fun. I think the covers are all super cool. And then the next one is Airkeep, and this one just looks like the perfect spring book. And then the last one, I don't actually have the book for yet, but it is Firekeep. And if I get to it by the end of April, I may try and read that one as well. We'll see how many I get through. But that's kind of my plan for April. So these are all the books I read in March. We got a nice dark wintry color scheme going, and these are all the books that I plan to read in April, which we've got a lot more color, so it should be more fun for spring. But thank you so much for watching. If you have read any of these books and have thoughts on the ones that I've read or anything to let me know about the ones that I'm going to read. Most of them are rereads, so I do know a lot about them, but I'd love to know your thoughts, or if you have any other books you recommend based off of these. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!